Like, I don't know everything about every topic I have opinions on. Like, how can I do it all? Like, so politically educated.
It's exhausting.
And it's also impossible. Also, why are you looking to me for some political answer? You think I have the answer? I'm a pop star. I wish I had the answers. I wish the president was a pop star.
So it's safe to say we live in a very celebrity-obsessed culture, and we put celebrity and artists on such a pedestal, and of course, a lot of them deserve it for their great art, whether that be them being singers, actors, directors, athletes and stuff. But what comes with that often is a lot of us projecting our own personalities on them, thinking they're compatible with us, and often thinking they might have the same political views as us. And if we put them on this pedestal, their political views could kind of like bring them down in our eyes or kind of raise them up. Now, I'm saying that because there's been quite an insane focus on Chappell Roan's political views. And I don't personally find them that disagreeable or even controversial, because it's pretty clear people on both sides don't like her. Of course, Republicans and conservatives aren't going to like an open queer person who often does drag performances and stuff. But then there's also the left-wing side where liberals really hate her because they think she is either a secret Republican. I'm not joking. I've seen that comment going around. And she helped get Trump elected by telling people not to vote. And they think her criticism of the Democrats comes from a centrist place or a right-wing place, and not just sort of like a normie left-wing place of just, I hate the government and I hate political parties because they're all bad. And I want to make this video, I wouldn't say it's like a defense of every single thing she said, because I personally first don't really give a shit about what she believes in politically. It's more just talking about the obsessive focus on this one person, why we're doing it. And I want to talk about the various controversies, or kind of like the narrative of the last 6 months, where it's like, oh, she's bad, she's bad, she's bad. And then, oh my God, she's actually like a secret Republican, and she's just like a bad person for her political views. I guess we would need to talk about like why her specifically, because how many celebrities are out there who are insanely political but just don't make headlines, and even like popular ones as well? Or people like, let's say, Pedro Pascal, who comes out and says like one good thing once a year, and I was like, everyone loves him. But when it comes to Chappell Roan, because she said something bad about Kamala Harris and the Democrats, everyone just hates her forever, even though it seems from like Pedro Pascal's history, he has a more coherent like left-wing ideology, which probably doesn't love the Democrats so much. But because Chappell Roan said something more spontaneously once, like people hate it. Obviously, you can't like downplay the misogyny involved in that as well. And I even spoke about this a tiny bit in my video about misogyny on YouTube. Like, I said to my girlfriend about my views on like Chappell Roan, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter. I don't like their music, but I feel like they're just in my face all the time because the media obsessively pushes these people and also obsesses on these people. So you feel like you can't escape them. So when someone like Chappell Roan has a political take, unlike, you know, one of the more political celebrities, especially male celebrities, like let's say Pedro Pascal, suddenly everyone just has to have an opinion on it. And I guess people should just remember, people who are celebrities, of course, have fame and power, but they were once normal people. And in terms of politics, just because they're famous doesn't mean they know politics well, or you should listen to them about politics. Like, yes, when a celebrity has good political views and progressive political views that are about helping humanity, that is a good thing, and I'm happy about that because obviously celebrity affects culture. At the same time, I'm not really looking for guidance from celebrities who don't really have much of an interest or background in politics because they probably don't know really what they're talking about. And we can often, like I said, project our own views on these people and think they know it better than they really do. So one example I want to use quickly before we go into the rest of the video. So I've been listening to Al Pacino's autobiography and I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great autobiography. Don't buy it if you want the background on like his movies. It's more about his life. But in that, you see his background, you see his upbringing, terrible education, very poor migrant family, in like a gang growing up and stuff. I guess people would think Al Pacino maybe might be more political than you'd think. So obviously, Al Pacino's in The Godfather. That is a political film. Al Pacino's in Scarface. That's a very political film. Al Pacino's in Dog Day Afternoon, which is about a real-life story of someone robbing a bank to pay for their partner's gender reassignment surgery, I believe. Al Pacino is also in Cruising, which of course was extremely controversial at the time for exploiting the gay community. At the same time, him being in that film, in terms of that, back in those days, you'd think he has more like progressive views on the LGBT community, like being comfortable playing that role, and also being in Dog Day Afternoon. Obviously, he's in films like Serpico, and then he's in films where he gives, you know, these great speeches about the system because he plays lawyers in multiple films. And obviously he plays policemen. So you think Al Pacino probably has like interesting political views and might even know his politics pretty well because he plays these characters all the time that are so political and represent something in the political system in the United States. But if you read his autobiography, he basically knows nothing about politics. There's a bit in I think the early 70s, he has a friend who's really political. And he says, I didn't know anything about politics. I knew the US had won World War II and that was good. But other than that, I didn't really know what was going on. Because for him, he just had a terrible education, didn't know much about politics, and just became like this very talented performer who then saw all these things that he did as roles. Even sometimes he said in plays, he'd play like these communist revolutionaries, but then he's saying to one of his friends, I don't know anything about politics, right? And that would probably surprise a lot of people because if you watch Al Pacino's body of work and you see the roles he plays, you're like, surely this guy knows about politics and he's educated in politics, but he's really not. And even when he's talking about Scarface with Oliver Stone, he's talking about the politics of it. He's like, you know, it's Oliver Stone who made it political. It's not anything to do with me. I was just playing an interesting character. And I say that because that is a guy whose performance touches on politics way more in all these roles he does, touches on the system way more, touches on things like LGBT rights, police corruption, law, and the system. And here's a guy who didn't really know much about any of those things. And you can put him on a pedestal and think maybe he is a very political animal, but he's just not. And that's important to remember because for a lot of these people, even if they do engage in the political world, it doesn't mean they're going to know much about politics. And it doesn't mean you should be looking to them for your political views and really giving a shit what they say about politics. You can just enjoy the art, but who cares? Yes, like I said, it's a nice surprise. It's a nice surprise when a footballer has more progressive politics because a lot of them don't. At the same time, I don't like them for their politics. I like them because they're talented at something else that I admire. So in regards to that, let's talk about Chappell Roan as well, because she has spoke about politics and she has gone out of her way to kind of talk about some things which has got her a lot of scrutiny. So basically, I'm not going to read the quote. She said, I think it was a Rolling Stone interview, a cover story actually, and a Guardian interview running up to the election. She said she's not going to endorse someone. And she's saying, you know, examine both sides and choose who you're going to vote for. She said some nice things about Kamala Harris, but basically got loads and loads of backlash from Blue MAGA, who are like, oh my God, how could you not fully endorse Kamala Harris? You must love Donald Trump. And again, because like I was saying, with our over focus on female celebrities and especially people like Chappell Roan or Taylor Swift, everyone is just like having an opinion about this and saying stuff about her. So basically, she made videos addressing this, basically clarifying it. So she had to make two because she reiterated what she said on one. And then in the second one, she was responding to everyone giving her more criticism for not full-throatedly supporting the Democrats in the 2024 election. So let's have a look at a few clips of these.
I have encouraged people to use critical thinking skills, learn about what they're voting for, learn about who they're voting for, and ask questions. And it's being completely taken out of context. I think it's important for me to question authority and question world leaders. This is my third election in voting, and the world is changing so rapidly, and I want to be part of the generation that changes things for good. Hear from my mouth, if you're still wondering, no, I'm not voting for Trump, and yes, I will always question those in power and those making decisions over other people. I just woke up and to like people just skewing it even more. Endorsing and voting are completely different. I don't agree with a lot of what is going on with like policies. Like obviously fuck the policies of the right, but also fuck some of the policies on the left. That's why I can't endorse. That's why I can't like put my entire name and my entire project behind one, because there is no way I can stand behind some of the left's completely transphobic and completely genocidal views. Fuck Trump for fucking real, but fuck some of the shit that has gone down in the Democratic Party I'm not gonna settle for what the options that are in front of me. And you're not gonna make me feel bad for that. So yeah, I'm voting for fucking Kamala. And I'm not gonna let this narrative of like me not playing both sides. No. This is not me playing both sides. This is me questioning both sides because this is what we have in front of us. I'm critiquing both sides because they're both so fucked up. Yes, one's obviously better than the other. But Jesus fucking Christ, I hope you don't settle for what we have.
So I assume a lot of people watching this channel are left-wing. So if you're a left-wing person, you probably think that is a pretty agreeable position. And for someone who doesn't really like talk about politics loads, that is kind of like a normie left position. Like if you just plucked out a 26-year-old, now 27-year-old queer person in the art scene and asked them what they thought about the Democratic Party, I'm sure you'd hear a lot of stuff like that, especially in regards to Palestine and everything. And, you know, she talks about the left and right. I think even that kind of shows maybe she doesn't care about politics so much, because most people wouldn't call the Democrats left and would be like, you know, I'm an actual leftist. I don't support the Democrats because I'm a leftist. For a lot of people, this comes across as she's a centrist. No, it's pretty clear. Even if she doesn't think she's doing it from the left, she's criticizing the whole system from the left. And like I said, for most people, that's absolutely fine. But because there's a massive focus on this person, everyone went crazy about these comments and was saying like, oh my God, how could you both sides, the Democrats and Republicans, even though she said she's going to vote for Kamala Harris and that they're better, how could you dare question any of these liberal politicians? As we know, Hollywood is a blue MAGA hive mind. Most people would never dare even criticize Kamala Harris for things like Palestine. So even her talking about that, you'd say, oh, that's a good thing. I'm glad someone like that has some backbone in terms of their political views and actually thinks to themselves. And even if she might not say things I always agree with and stuff, I'm happy that she's not just going to go with the norm of I love Biden, I love Harris, vote for them uncritically. But again, because of our celebrity-obsessed culture, people have just gone so deranged about this woman that they have to hate her for that. Again, is how much emphasis we place on celebrities' political views, because if you just heard that in the street, I don't even think you'd give it a second thought. But because she's a famous person saying it, and everyone has to tear down this person for something like so many people have articulated, and actually what we've seen with the election, like average people who aren't like politically informed often can't articulate themselves as well as they'd like, but we have seen a general apathy with the political system around the world and plenty of people saying a similar thing. If someone gives you like a decent vibe like she does, and what she said points in the direction of she does have these good and consistent morals, then I don't understand why you'd go so crazy. But it doesn't matter, because she recently made more comments which have sent people even more enraged, basically. And I can understand people criticizing this in a vacuum. And obviously, like I've been saying in this video, I don't think you should really give a shit about what celebrities think about politics. And even I would say she's as good as you're going to get. And here she has an opinion that seems very out of touch and very, like, obviously privileged, and I would agree with the criticism of it. So she had an interview on the Call Me Daddy podcast just saying basically, why are you looking to me for your politics? I agree with that. And how do you expect anyone to keep up to date with politics who doesn't care about it?
People expect me to play by different rules because I'm gay and I should be more politically correct about that, and I should actually be way more knowledgeable about it. And so I get asked a lot of fucking crazy questions that a lot of my peers would not get asked. I have like my opinions, but that doesn't mean I'm like completely like, I don't know everything about every topic I have opinions on. Like I try to know everything I can, but like when I don't answer a question correctly, or like how can I do it all? Like
you can't.
How can these girls tour, write, perform, interview, sleep, and eat, and fucking work out, and like how can they do it all and lead a team and be a boss and pay people and like and be like fucking so politically educated.
It's exhausting.
And it's also impossible. Also, why the fuck are you looking to me for some political answer? You think I have the fucking answer? I'm a pop star. I wish I had the answers. I wish the president was a pop star, but she's not.
Yeah, no one likes to hear a rich celebrity saying, I am too busy to give a shit about politics, therefore I don't know about politics. Yeah, like I agree with the criticism that you're a privileged person, you probably have a lot of people helping you. You could educate yourself politically or try and make an effort to stay more informed. At the same time, she's kind of hitting on lots of what I've been saying. Yeah, you shouldn't be looking to her for your political opinions. Lots of people in real life do not have time to actually, be politically informed. And even those who do often are still brainwashed to vote against their own interests. Think about all the blue MAGA celebrities I'm talking about. Mark Hamill bangs on about politics every single day on Blue Sky. And he's obviously politically informed of the news, but he's a fucking idiot. So even people being politically informed doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have good politics. But there have been some fair criticism, and I have seen fair criticism. It's more about like her performance, her identity as Chappell Roan, because obviously, that's not her real name, and how she's kind of, this visible queer person who's kind of not engaging in the struggle for queer liberation as much as lots of people would want. And I did see this one video, I'm just going to play it for you. I saw it on Pop Culture. Drag queens like Plain Jane, Tilly, and other performers have started calling out Chappell Roan, accusing her of exploiting the LGBT community for profit rather than advocacy. And I'll play this for you. Obviously, it's not a conversation I can talk about from my own personal experience, so I think this is an interesting point, and I want to talk about it.
I don't know why, but what I'm more upset about is to have a platform like she does and to be so vocal about the election in such a harmful way, and then to now suddenly it's just, I have no opinions on politics, I'm just a pop star. And I'm like, I also think it's really difficult to make your whole identity, I'm queer, I'm in your face, and being queer is inherently political. And I think in this time, this is not the time to be taking a back seat when things get hard or because you got backlash. You can't make your whole personality about being abrasive and then not be able to handle the fallout. We all need to be speaking up as loudly as possible.
So like I said, I obviously can't speak on that. I will say her comments about the election, I don't think deserve any criticism at all. If anything, I think she could have gone way further and it would have been totally fine. So this person saying that, I don't agree with that. But at the same time, if they want to make the criticism that as one of the more vocal queer people and one of the more visible queer people, you're not doing enough for our community, and now suddenly you don't want to talk about politics because people will hate you for talking about politics, I understand that criticism. And I think it is a fair criticism that you are occupying a space which plenty of people have had to use a platform to fight for, and plenty of ordinary people, like everyday people who aren't celebrities, have had to fight for progress for you to even get that place in the first place. And maybe you have some sort of responsibility to that community to fight for their human rights and do more. Again, I don't know if people in the LGBT community and the queer community think she's done enough and stuff. Not my place to say, but that is like a more fair criticism. At the same time, like I've been saying this whole video, this is just one pop star who the media have decided to obsessively focus on, where it feels like, and I saw this on Google search, it was like, why did she get so famous? Like, where did she even come from? And obviously she's been an artist for a long, long time that suddenly exploded recently. And now because the media's obsessive focus, it feels like she's absolutely like everywhere and in your face beyond just her music. But again, you just have to ask yourselves, when you see her comments about like, how am I supposed to know about politics and stuff, right? The knee-jerk reaction is, oh my God, you're a terrible person. Like, you're so rich. How can you not know about politics? All that other stuff, right? But I'd say you just have to realize on two levels, these people are human beings. They're very similar to you, and they've only been elevated because they've had some sort of success, right? So they've gone from being like you to being like this platform figure where people look up to them for their art. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have good politics, and that doesn't mean they're going to be politically informed or politically educated or even like politically articulate. And I would just say to people like, yeah, you can criticize what she says as a public figure and everything. At the same time, just kind of think about, why do you care about this one specific person, and why do I see her pop up all the time talking about politics? Because people are just dunking on her for being the worst person ever. Like some of the comments I was reading today saying she's like a closet Republican. Like even in terms of just like female pop stars, why is there this energy for Chappell Roan and not the energy for Taylor Swift? Taylor Swift, who doesn't say anything, pollutes the planet way more than most celebrities, and obviously has built an empire on the backs of like sweatshop labor in like Latin America and stuff. Have more smoke for that rather than like a newer pop star who maybe said something about the Democrats you didn't like. But at the end of the day, just please remember, we can like celebrities for political opinions, but just don't rely on celebrities for their political opinions, and don't expect good political opinions. You can trust celebrities who often forgo their privilege by being insanely outspoken. John Cusack, Susan Sarandon, celebrities who are also activists. And you can put these people on a platform because they put their money where their mouth is. Like quite literally, they will not get roles anymore because of their political activism. But when it's just like a random person who doesn't seem to, be that politically educated, why do you give a shit about what they say politically all the time? Like, why do we have to have a discourse around what this one pop star says? Just because the media has started to obsessively focus on them in a way that you don't get with many, obviously, like male celebrities who often actually have like terrible fucking politics, where she seems to be like pretty standard representative of like a Gen Z woman in America at this age as well. So it's not even something that's outside the norm. She didn't come out as like some radical Maoist. And it also ties nicely to my video about all these celebrities who supported Israel but don't really get much criticism anymore and haven't faced any repercussions and don't get much smoke for their terrible views on supporting Israel. But here we have one person who kind of said that she doesn't like the Democrats because of Palestine and trans rights, but voted for Kamala Harris anyway. And that's like the worst thing ever. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.